Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. So today I'm going to talk you through all the books I read in March, and if I'm correct I think that March was my best reading month so far in 2020. So I'm just going to get up my spreadsheet now of all the books I read and talk you through them. So in March I read 9 books, which is my best so far, just under half of all the books I've read so far this year. As I've moved back home and I had been at uni, I don't actually have all these books on me because they're still in boxes downstairs, and a lot of them were audiobooks or ebooks anyway, so I don't have any props to show you in this video, but I'll talk you through what I read anyway. So the first book I read was The Picture of Dorian Gray, and that is by Oscar Wilde. This one is a classic that I had never read, so I thought I should, and also it's on my reading chart where I get to scratch it off. I actually listened to this as an audiobook and I did really enjoy this. I'm not entirely sure if it was exactly what I was expecting from the book, because I was told that it was kind of like a little bit controversial, but I didn't really see anything controversial about it. But I did really enjoy it, and I gave that book 4.5 stars. The next book I read was The Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. I'm currently reading like the trilogy, so that was the first in the trilogy, and I'd watched The Golden Compass before, like I used to watch it as a kid, so I kind of knew what to expect, but I hadn't watched the film in a really long time, so I wasn't like I knew exactly what was coming next, so I kind of forgotten the storyline. I did enjoy this book, and it wasn't like too long. I think it was only like 200 and something pages. What I would say though is I really didn't enjoy the battle scenes in it. I kind of skipped over most of those. Not skipped over, but like speed read, kind of just scanned the page with those, because I'm not like really into like battle scenes in books. I gave that book a 4 star. The next one I read was A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, and this book again I read as an audiobook. This was again to scratch off a little thing on my poster, which I need to find a place for what now I'm back home because I'm not entirely sure where to put it. Also, apologies for the light because my window is there and I don't have any like actual lighting. I don't know where my light box is because again it's in a box somewhere, so half of me is in light and half of me isn't, and I am planning on like clearing up this side of my room so I can film there in future, but at the moment it looks like a pigsty. Anyway, yes, A Tale of Two Cities. It was very Charles Dickens, you know, Victorian, everyone's poor, someone's in trouble, but I did give that 4 stars as well. I did enjoy it. Honestly, I like read some of these so long ago now, like it feels like a lot's happened in the last month, so I'm like struggling to remember what happened in them. The next book I read was The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and that was again an audiobook. Again, that book wasn't exactly what I was expecting from it. It was a lot shorter than I'd anticipated it being. Because obviously everyone knows the vague story, like the vague concept of the book. The way it panned out wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting it to be more a bit like crime mystery, if you get what I mean, rather than what it was. I don't want to spoil it by saying anything. But yeah, it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, but I didn't not enjoy it. But I gave that a 3.5 stars, so I think that's my lowest rating so far this month. The next book I read was actually for uni. It was for an essay that I'm writing, and it's called In Cold Fear by Pamela Hunt Steinel. And it's basically a book about the Catcher in the Rye, and it as like a post-war thing and basically critical analysis of it, because I'm writing my essay on Catcher in the Rye. So that was another book I read. I actually found it really interesting. I do find reading like external criticism for my English novel essays in particular sometimes really interesting, not all the time but sometimes. And I also gave that a 3.5 star. Next book I read was Hidden Bodies by Caroline Kepnes, and that is the sequel to the You book, and it's similar but not the same as the second season of the show. So the main character Joe moves to LA, and it's about his life in LA and all of the bad things that he gets up to there and him falling in love again. Honestly, my favourite book I think it might be my favourite book I've read this year. I absolutely loved it. I would definitely recommend it if you've read You. If you haven't read You, I recommend reading You and then reading Hidden Bodies. And apparently she signed a deal, so there's 2 more books coming out, and I tried to find out when they are coming out because Hidden Bodies came out quite a while ago and I couldn't find anything on it, so hopefully the 3rd one will be with us soon because I really want to know what happens next. And I kind of want the book before the new season comes, although I don't think the new season particularly lines up with the third book that's coming, if that makes sense. And that I gave 5 stars, so that was my highest rating of the month, I believe. The next book I read was Animal Farm. I read this because we did an online book club for my English Lit Soc at uni. Again, it was another classic I haven't read. It's another Oscar Wilde book. I hadn't realised that I'd read 2 Oscar Wilde books in 1 month. But yeah, it's like quite a short story, and it's about basically communism but told on a farm. The reason I hadn't read it before is because I have a thing about I really don't like animals dying. I'm sure none of us do, but like I'll go out my way not to watch films where animals die, so I don't like to watch The Lion King, Bambi, Marley and Me. I haven't seen the end. I watched until like 3/4 of the way through that film. I just really don't like it, so I hadn't read it because any book that kind of has the word animal in the title I tend to stay away from. It wasn't bad, and also because the animals were obviously humanised in it, I didn't connect with the animals as I would have done had it been like a dog that wasn't talking. When the animals died, it wasn't as heart-wrenching as expected. It wasn't too bad. It was also really short. I think I read it in a day. And I gave that 4 stars. The next book I read as an audiobook, and it is To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. And again, this was so that I could scratch off a thing on my chart. I've read some of Virginia Woolf before, and I can't remember. Oh yeah, I read Mrs. Dalloway before, which I really enjoyed. The Lighthouse wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't my favourite book I've read from her. I still gave it a 3.5 because it wasn't a bad book, but I probably wouldn't reread it. And then the final book I read in March was another audiobook, and that is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. And again, I read this because it's on my big chart of books to scratch off. You can see a theme. I'm trying to scratch off books on my chart. It's like my mission. But also it gives me ideas of books to read, so it is kind of a good idea. Also, my voice is going funny because I feel like I haven't spoken this much in so long, because obviously we're all stuck inside at the moment. Anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed that. I don't actually remember ever reading it as a child. Like, the plot line was like completely new to me. And I did enjoy that. Obviously, it's a kid's book, and I gave that a 4 star. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video and hearing what I read this month. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe. It would mean the world. Please don't forget to like, and also comment below what books you read in March, and give me any suggestions for books you think I might enjoy reading. And I will see you in my next video.